Just wanted to show you guys what a difference one day can make. I was up here yesterday. It's looking a little bit different. That's what it looks like now. Hey everybody, welcome back to Conscientious Omnivore. My name is Pal. Today I'm doing a video that is actually something I wanted to do fully over a year ago. The footage you saw to start the video was something that I shot last year. And it was just this stark kind of contrast. It was literally from one day to the next. I was out running, and same section of trail in both clips. And yeah, just like beautiful, sunny, like, you know, wonderful running weather. And then the next day it was just like brutally cold, like windswept, like foggy, snowy, blizzard conditions. It was kind of insane. And it made me think of this idea of, you know, just kind of what a huge difference one day can make. And yeah, sometimes in just our surroundings, sometimes in just the weather, sometimes in you know, our mental state, like the day, you know, somebody, you know, wakes up here and just realizes like what they're doing and makes a change in their life. Like it can be so dramatic from anything, you know, obviously as it relates to veganism and as I've talked about in my personal life on this channel, but also it can be just like anything, like just the way you look at your own fitness, your own motivation, your career, your, like, you know, your hobbies, your love, interests, whatever. It doesn't even matter. Anything can change so drastically in one day. And with the way the world is kind of headed now, there's so much technology, there's so much just change happening. It's just change is the only constant, it seems like, in our lives now. And the change is getting more and more rapid. And of course, climate change is a huge thing, and it's just changing more and more rapidly as well. I just did the live streams talking about a lot of the fires in Australia. I mean, so many of these things are just so pertinent. And today's video, I'm going to be talking about the changes that we can make with a plant-based diet. You know, by adopting a vegan lifestyle, we can affect huge change in our own lives, in the lives of people around us, in the lives of animals, in the environment. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So as you probably hopefully should know, January is Veganuary. That's Vegan January. And the idea behind Veganuary is to try to get people who are not yet vegans to commit to trying a vegan lifestyle for a month. And they sign up and then basically kind of like take a pledge to be, you know, be vegan or plant-based or whatever for a month. And it's a wonderful initiative. It's grown in popularity hugely over the past few years, and there are just more and more people supporting it. There's like just so many wonderful options through Facebook groups, the website. They'll send you plant-based meal ideas, recipes, tips for buying stuff, you know, and like just awesome source of reference. So we're going to just jump into kind of the impact you can have if you look at, you know, kind of like what you can save and what a difference you can make with one day versus, you know, a whole month of going plant-based. And then we're gonna take it beyond that, obviously. So let's get into it. All right, so there's this handy dandy website. It's called the Vegan Calculator. You can see how much you have saved. So basically it says, you know, a vegan lifestyle saves animals, environment, and much more. Calculate how much you've saved. You can see that basically every day as a vegan, you can save 1,100 gallons of water. For people in Europe, that's, you know, roughly, I mean, 4 liters is about 1 gallon, so over 4,000 liters of water. You can save 40 pounds of grain. Again, that's probably like, I don't know, 18 kilos or so. 30 square feet of forest, which doesn't sound like a lot, but just bear that in mind that that's just one day. So that's pretty awesome. You can save 20 pounds of CO2. You can save one animal's life. And let's just say, you know, you've been vegan for the month of January. Here we go. Let's do a calculation. Now, all of a sudden, you know, of course, it's going to multiply the numbers by 30. It shouldn't be too hard to figure it out. but you can save 33,000 gallons of water. That's over 120,000 liters of water. You can save 1,200 pounds of grain, 900 square feet of forest. Now it's starting to look kind of more serious. It's like a big deal, you know. 600 pounds of CO2, and you can save 30 animals' lives. So yes, what a difference one day can make. And if you keep doing that day, if you keep kind of, you know, staying on course, look at the change you can make in a month. I mean, it's huge. So I think if anybody had watched Earthling Ed's video about Veganuary, he just put it up recently. I think he quoted that I think it's something about 1.3 million animals are estimated to be saved by the participants of Veganuary and one of the other vegan initiatives for the start of the new year. I mean, that's a huge number if you think about it. So, you know, it really adds up. Like, you're just one person, excuse me, but, you know, multiply that effort across all the people taking part, and it's awesome. It's like really, really, truly awesome. And then for people who have been vegan for a long time, you know, this was the first time I actually looked at this. I haven't seen this for myself, but if you bump this up, so I've been vegan 4 years and roughly 4 months. So I think, yeah, it was September. So let's say October, November, December, January, roughly 4 months. I have saved 1.7 million gallons of water. I have saved 63,000 pounds of grain, 47,000 square feet of forest. I mean, that's just, that's like a real number now. That's pretty awesome. 31,000 pounds of CO2 and 1,580 lives. So that is just awesome. I love seeing this. And I think, you know, a lot of people watching this, especially if you're not vegan, you might find these numbers like, where are they getting them from? Well, they're getting them from the Conspiracy website. There are links to all the information of how these kinds of values are calculated, the water savings, the CO2 savings, etc., etc. So if you're doubtful of this, I encourage you to go and look up the actual facts. Check out the Conspiracy website. It's amazing. And then again, you know, you might just say, well, this is just vegan propaganda. It's not true. I have a few other resources to show you guys that is, you know, not vegan, and just on, you know, mainstream sites that is widely available. Just did a quick search. You know, this is from last year. It had some updates as of the end of last year. So it came out from February 2018, then it was revised. And, you know, they're basically talking about how water consumption is a huge thing with meat production. So you can see here, according to the USGS, it takes nearly 2,000 gallons of water, 9,000 liters, to produce just 1 pound of beef. In other words, you take an average swimming pool worth of water and you'd only be able to make about 10 pounds of beef from that. The sheer size and scope of that amount of water just boggles the mind. By way of comparison, McDonald's goes through approximately 190,000 pounds of beef a day. Multiply that up again by the 2,000 gallons. I mean, it's just, it's horrific. It's absolutely horrific. It's like, you know, billions of gallons of water. Oh, sorry, roughly a third of a billion gallons of water. So yeah, and then it says, you know, is eating poultry any better? Yes, slightly from a water consumption standpoint. It shows that to produce a pound of poultry, specifically chicken, it takes only 500 gallons of water. And while that's still a lot better than beef, it still requires a lot of water for just 1 pound of meat. And then they're saying, well, what's the alternative? Well, veggies and fruits and what have you. So they're basically telling you that potatoes require only 100 gallons of water to produce 1 pound of produce. So for the same amount of water, we can produce 20 times more potatoes than we can produce beef and 18 times more corn. It's staggering. And again, they talk about here land. An even more startling comparison, raising cows requires land, a lot of land. A typical acre of land can sustain enough cows to produce approximately 250 pounds of beef. I've talked about this before in videos, and specifically I addressed this point when I was debating milk jar with Logan way back in the day. If anybody hasn't seen that video, I encourage you to check that out. But basically, I mean, it's mind-boggling the amount of food you can produce on the same amount of land that you would need to just say have like this, you know, pure carnivore, you know, fantasy land that they live in, that everyone should just eat grass-fed beef. It's just mind-boggling how much more plant foods you can produce on the same land. But basically, they're saying here that the same acre of land can produce nearly 20,000 pounds of potatoes and 50,000 pounds of tomatoes. Think about that. 1 acre of land produces a whopping 10 tons of potatoes and 25 tons of tomatoes, versus, again, the 250 pounds of beef. Now, again, somebody's going to say, well, why are they comparing pounds to pounds? Why aren't they comparing, calorie to calorie? And if you look, it's a very interesting question. Let's look. Grass-fed beef, 1 ounce. Bear in mind, 16 ounces is 1 pound, especially for the people not in the U.S. You got about 54 calories per ounce for the grass-fed beef. You have, for 1 ounce of potatoes, you have 26. So it's, a little less than half the calories, okay? And, or is it a little more than, no, yeah, it's a little less than half. So if you look at these figures, let's bring up a calculator here. Let's say for the, for the grass-fed beef, we have 54 calories per ounce. So we're going to say 54 calories times 16 ounces for 1 pound. And they said that they can produce 250 pounds. So from that 1 acre of land, we're able to produce 216,000 calories of beef. Okay, so just bear this in mind. And then we are going to look at the baked potato, and here we've got 26 calories per ounce times 16 ounces for a pound times 20,000 pounds of potatoes that we can produce on the same land. We can produce 8,320,000 calories on the same land that we could produce 216,000 calories for beef. So, I mean, if you just look at this, it's like unbelievable. Divide this by the other number, by the 216,000, you can produce over 38.5 times the amount of calories from potatoes that you could from beef. So it's just something to bear in mind. I mean, it's just, I know it's not, and people can compare protein and whatever, and, sure, the number is going to go down a little bit, but even there, like, you're going to be, like, just able to produce way more, vastly more, any metric you want to look at, it's going to be better. So, just something to bear in mind. Here's another article that I just wanted to show with you, share with you guys, and just show you, again, not some, vegan site promoting this. This is a well-referenced study. You've probably seen it. It's not a new one. I think it came out in 2018. This article, at least, is from 2018. It was a University of Oxford study that concluded you can reduce your individual carbon footprint from food by up to 73% by adopting a vegan diet. So basically cutting out meat and dairy products from your diet. Excuse me, I should have had some water. If it says, meanwhile, if everyone stopped eating these foods, they found that global farmland use could be reduced by 75%, an area equivalent to the size of US, China, Australia, and the EU combined. Again, just bear that in mind. Like 3/4 of the cropland could be returned to be rewilded. Not only would this result in a significant drop in greenhouse gas emissions, it could also free up wild land lost to agriculture, one of the primary causes for mass wildlife extinction. Talked about this before in live streams. Look at the one I did where I talked about the study that was done in the UK, showing that basically the entire UK could be self-sufficient and reduce their carbon emissions, I think, to something like 9 years worth of it or something like that, and still be self-sufficient. So just amazing what you could achieve if people do this in mass and make these kind of changes on a global kind of basis. So basically this was a huge study. It collected data from nearly 40,000 farms in 119 different countries. The findings reveal that meat and dairy production is responsible for 60% of agriculture's greenhouse gas emissions, while the products themselves provide just 18% of calories and 37% of protein levels around the world. So it's just a huge inefficient system. Researchers examined a total of 40 agricultural products in the study, covering 90% of all food that is eaten. So they really looked at like a lot of stuff, not just a small sampling. They looked at how each of these impacted the environment by analyzing climate change emissions, water pollution, and air pollution. And the lead author, Joseph Poore, said, a vegan diet is probably the single biggest way to reduce your impact on planet Earth, not just greenhouse gases, but global acidification, eutrophication, land use, and water use. It is far bigger than cutting down on your flights or buying an electric car, he explained. which would only reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Avoiding consumption of animal products delivers far better environmental benefits than trying to purchase sustainable meat and dairy, he added. The research also looked into different techniques used to produce the same foods and found vast distinctions in terms of environmental impacts. So again, they go to this grass-fed beef versus, CAFO type things, the concentrated feedlots. And basically it's saying that, beef reared on natural pastures used 50 times less land than those raised on deforested land. The latter can lead up to 12 times more greenhouse gas emissions by comparison. This starkly contrasts with emissions of greenhouse gases released as a result of plant-based protein production from items such as tofu and peas. Poor also explained that even production methods which are thought of as sustainable, such as freshwater fish farming and grass-fed beef, can pose environmental problems. Converting grass into meat is like converting coal to energy. It comes with an immense cost in emissions. The research is a result of a 5-year-long project, which initially began as an investigation into sustainable meat and dairy production. He stopped eating animal products altogether himself after the first year. So I'm sure he had quite a shock when he saw all the data that they were collecting. So basically, he's saying the next step is to find a way to, put this into practice, maybe do labeling like in the store so people know like what they're doing, and, just have maybe stickers or, get basically, changes through government subsidies, taxes, etc., just like it says here. And I just thought this was interesting again because it's a huge study. It involved tons of countries, tons of farms. They really have a lot of data on it. A lot of people have referred to this, but again, just the takeaway is that you can reduce your individual food carbon footprint by 73%, and it's a bigger change than cutting down flights and whatever. I've done a video too about flights. Check that one out if you haven't seen it. People have a lot of misconceptions about flights, but if you look at it on a per person basis, the amount of fuel used is actually pretty efficient, and in fact in many cases more efficient than driving a car for the same amount of distance covered. So I'm going to end here. Just really want to, give people the link. I'm going to have all the links to the stuff like usual in the comments below. Feel free to peruse them, check them out, do your own research. But if anybody, it's never too late. Take the Veganuary pledge now. It doesn't have to be January 1st, or don't take the pledge. Just try going vegan. You can get so much support from so many people, and it's just a wonderful. It's just a wonderful initiative, and I'm here to help. Other people are here to help. I'm sure if you want anybody to give you a hand, give you tips, look through my playlist. I have many recipes up there. There's so many websites with so many great recipes. I mean, I like to think I'm a decent cook. I'm okay in the kitchen, in the chef department, but by no means am I anything like all that special. I make good, simple tasting, easy to make food. I don't have time to do anything too fancy. I have 2 kids, the missus and I, we try to do everything efficiently and quickly, and we like cooking and we like baking, but we keep to really simple stuff. Like all the things I have on my channel, I mean, the vast majority are things you can prepare in like 20-30 minutes. It'll take you less time to make it, and you'll be eating it by the time you would have taken to call a place and order food to your house. It's just it's cheap. You can again look through so many online resources to find really wonderful, great recipes using staples: rice, beans, potatoes. These are some of the cheapest foods you can find anywhere on the planet. I know there are food deserts. I know for some people it's really difficult, but again, you have to ask yourself, are you one of those people? And if you are, you might still be able to find a solution, but if you're not, then don't let that serve as an excuse for you to not make a change. So please do look into this stuff. I encourage everybody. I hope many of you, are getting this word out yourself in your, personal day-to-day life. I just think, all of our interactions with people that are non-vegan, it could serve as a great example. Just your own actions, the way you talk to people, the way you bring your lunch to work or, school or wherever you're going and you're interacting with people, or even just going out with people. And when I was working, we would have to do work lunches every once in a while. People were always curious about what I ate, and I didn't have to say anything. It was like they would ask me, like, "Oh, why are you ordering that?" Or why don't you get this? And you can start a really friendly communication and do a little bit of activism. So Anyway, that's it for the video. I hope you guys liked it. If you did, please do give it a thumbs up, and please do share it with people. And I have a lot of new subscribers. Super happy about that. The channel keeps growing. I really appreciate it. If you're not yet signed up, please do subscribe. That really helps the channel grow as well. So thank you very much, and see you guys in the video soon. Thanks. Bye.